Welcome to AI TV News. This past weekend, the summer travel plans of more than 100,000 people were thrown into chaos. Airports became scenes of frustration as Canada's largest airline, Air Canada, was forced to ground its entire fleet. The cause was a strike by its 10,000 flight attendants. But in a dramatic turn, the Canadian government stepped in after less than 12 hours, ordering an end to the strike and forcing both sides into a process that takes the final decision out of their hands. So how did it come to this? What were the flight attendants fighting for? And what happens now? The conflict reached its breaking point at 1 minute before 1 a.m. Eastern Time on Saturday, August 16, 2025. After 8 months of failed negotiations, flight attendants, represented by the Canadian Union of Public Employees, or CUPE, walked off the job. In response, Air Canada, which had already started canceling hundreds of flights, issued a lockout notice and suspended all of its approximately 700 daily flights. This immediately impacted the estimated 130,000 passengers who fly with the airline and its budget-friendly arm, Air Canada Rouge, every day. The core of this dispute isn't just about a simple pay raise. It's about fundamental issues of compensation and what counts as work. A major point of contention is pay for unpaid time. For many flight attendants, their paid hours don't begin when they arrive at the airport, or even when they are on the plane preparing for a flight. Their pay often starts only when the plane is in the air. This means time spent on the ground during passenger boarding, a critical part of their job, is often unpaid. The union has been fighting for this time to be recognized and compensated. The second major issue is wages. The union pointed to a significant pay gap, noting that a new Air Canada flight attendant earns substantially less than one with similar experience at a rival airline like Air Transat. They also framed it as an issue of gender pay equity, highlighting that Air Canada's pilots, a male-dominated field, received a 26% pay raise last year, while the majority of flight attendants are women. For its part, Air Canada stated its final offer was generous. The airline said it proposed a 38% increase in total compensation over 4 years, which included a 25% wage increase in the first year and a new provision for what it called industry-leading pay for ground time. However, the union strongly disagreed with this characterization. They argued the offer was below inflation, below market value, below minimum wage, and calculated the actual wage increase to be only 17.2% over 4 years. They also said it only accounted for half of some of the work that is currently unpaid. With an overwhelming 99.7% vote in favor of a strike, the flight attendants showed they were united in their rejection of the offer. Before the strike deadline, Air Canada had asked the government to intervene and force both sides into arbitration, a move the union rejected, wanting to preserve their right to strike. But as airports filled with stranded travelers, the government acted swiftly. Less than 12 hours after the strike began, Federal Jobs Minister Patty Hajdu invoked a section of the Canada Labour Code to end the work stoppage. She stated the intervention was necessary because the two sides were nowhere near a resolution, and the strike posed a risk to an already pressured Canadian economy. She emphasized the importance of air travel for supply chains and for connecting a country as large as Canada. The union reacted with anger, calling the government's move a blatant betrayal and a violation of their constitutional right to strike. A union representative said the decision rewards Air Canada for not negotiating fairly and sets a terrible precedent. One flight attendant on the picket line expressed deep disappointment, saying, "Our bargaining rights were taken away." Another union leader stated, "We are heartbroken for our passengers, but we cannot work for free." So what happens now? The dispute moves to what is called binding arbitration. This means an independent third-party arbitrator will be appointed by the Canada Industrial Relations Board.
This arbitrator will listen to both sides, examine the evidence, and then make a final and legally binding decision on the terms of the new contract. Essentially, a neutral judge will now write the contract that the airline and the union could not agree on themselves. While flight attendants have been ordered back to work, the travel chaos is not over. Air Canada has warned that it could take several days to safely ramp up its operations and get its full schedule of flights back in the air. This means cancellations and delays will likely continue, and picket lines were expected to remain until the situation was fully resolved. For the tens of thousands of passengers left stranded, the process of rebooking flights and recovering extra costs will be a long and frustrating one. The government's decision has sparked a wider debate. Unions argue that forcing an end to a strike undermines the entire process of collective bargaining. This specific use of the labor code is controversial and is being challenged in court. In the end, while planes will be flying again, the core issues that led to this standoff remain. The conflict between Air Canada and its flight attendants has been paused, not permanently resolved, with the final say now resting in the hands of an arbitrator.